Oh,
Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Dead Funny University. I am your host and fellow student, Kelsey, and with me today is Chris. We are talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I know, it has nothing whatsoever to do with Zelda. Isn't this amazing? It's actually really weird to be doing irregular DFU for the first time in a very long time.
it is super weird. I was like, how did we do these again?
I was going to ask if you
So,
actually had a quiz for me, but I wasn't sure if
I
you remembered
actually
that.
don't. I mean, we could like hot do a quiz, but other than that, I honestly don't. I was like, I completely forgot about that until you just said that just now. It's been so long since we've done one of these. Wow, that's crazy.
That is okay. That's fine. We don't need to do one. I won't try to make you come up with one on the spot. But we will all remember this as the day that Chris forgot a quiz, and we will move
Oh,
on.
that's just fucked up. Okay. Okay. That's how it's gonna be.
So I do want to apologize to everybody a little bit because I dropped the ball on this. It should have dawned on me that we should have done something for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it just didn't until I was like, wait a minute, we're doing a review. Fuck, like we should have been on top of this already. So I apologize, everybody. Sorry you don't already have this information, but since we're only 2 episodes in at this particular point, maybe 3 by the time this comes out, hopefully there will still be things we can learn. I'll do better before Loki so we can make sure we get that in the books. So don't worry, I'm paying attention now. I've woken back up. Coronavirus got and slowed everybody's schedule down. So we're doing the Falcon and we're doing a little bit of the Winter Soldier. It's going to be more heavily weighted towards Falcon just because there's less that's known about that character. And what we do know about Winter Soldier in the comics and things like that is actually a lot of what they went into in the movie, The Winter
Mhm.
Soldier. So we've got a lot of that information already. So the Falcon is more the mysterious character, but there are relevant details from the Winter Soldier that could show up as well. So, Chris, where are you taking us off? Start us off. Let's go.
So yeah, starting off, yeah, as Kelsey said, we're gonna basically be talking about the Falcon, and we'll kind of see where things go from there. But this is a character that I don't feel has gotten enough talked about, even just in the show. There are a couple things they've talked on, and I hope to kind of open that up a little bit more. So as far as the Falcon goes, our first appearance was actually in Captain America 117 in September 1969. He was created by Stan Lee, and his co-creator was Gene Colan. This was actually done during the was it the Korean protest? Isn't that what was going on during the civil rights as well? I don't know. Either way, anytime one of these kind of big movements were pushed, Stan Lee was very open about wanting to do his part along with the comics. So as we know that Black Panther was our first African superhero, uh, Sam Wilson is actually known as the first African American superhero because obviously Black Panther's from Wakanda. So this
So he
is
was he was like he was canonically black. This is not something where they've
yes,
re-raised
yep,
the character. Okay, that's
no,
really
nope.
good.
Yep, from the start he was, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and so like I said, it was during the civil rights movement and stuff like that. Like I said, Stan Lee, that was his way of jumping in the forefront. And what better way to do it than in a Captain America comic, which was one of the most read comics at that time. So I guess to kind of go a little bit more into his childhood first, and then we'll lead to where he actually becomes Falcon. His siblings, because I know you like to ask that question. His father is Reverend Paul Wilson, and his sister is Sarah Wilson, which are the main two people that we've either one heard of or two seen in the actual show. Now, that being said, I am actually drawing a blank on uh his mother's name.
Now, while you
I can't
Google
think of
that,
her name.
I have a question for you because the show seemed to hint that Reverend Paul Wilson was someone important because I believe
Yep.
Sarah referred to him as he was a legend or he was a giant, I think is what she said. And I keyed onto
Yep.
that and I'm like, that sounds important and like that's going to come up later. Did the comics flesh that out at all?
Yeah. So basically, his mother's name was Darlene Wilson, by the way. So basically, he was like a beacon of hope for the community that they lived in. Reverend Paul Wilson literally cared about every single individual. He was the kind of guy to go down inner city streets and to see either gang fights, people stealing, robbing, do what he can to help, but not only help, but also take the offender aside and be like, this is not the life you need to live. Like, he cared about everybody regardless of what was happening. He thought everybody had a chance to do better. They just needed someone to tell them that.
That sounds Go ahead, sorry.
And he wasn't scared to like interject himself into it, knowing full well that something could happen.
Okay, so 2 things. It sounds like they're trying to make a little bit of a book version of, Dr. Martin Luther King. Not the main character, but, like, it sounds like they're trying to kinda emulate a little bit about how the community viewed him in comic books. Does that register with you at all as kinda true, possibly
It
true?
registers with me. Whether or
Mhm.
not that's true or not, I would have to do a little bit of deeper
Okay.
research. I know that they actually did look through a lot of different popular, well, I don't know necessarily if I'd say popular, because I don't know how widely, obviously I wasn't around during the civil rights movement, but I don't know how widely they were published, but they looked through a lot of African magazines and stuff like that to get um I guess not necessarily inspiration, but to make sure that Sam Wilson was like true to the African race, just like they wanted T'Challa to be true to that as well. So, I mean, I know that there was a lot of, using that as far as material, but I don't know if there was like a direct correlation between Martin Luther King and Paul Wilson. Could
But
be,
at the very
but I
least, they
don't know
were
off the top of my head.
intentional about recognizing that writing a white guy and a white guy's experience and then just painting him black was not going to be either sufficient or appropriate. It was actually going to be like bad. So they
Right.
intentionally created a character that would experience the world as a black man, and they built that into not only Paul Wilson, but I'm going to assume Sarah Wilson, Darlene, and Sam. Is that correct?
Right. I don't know as much about Sarah, which is going to be kind of cool for me
Hmm.
as the show goes on, if she becomes more of like an actual character in the show versus just like a throwaway family member in the show. But as far as Paul Wilson and Darlene Wilson, I mean, I do know about them, and that's because I mean, they're in the original Origin a lot more because they had a lot more to deal with, like Sam's upbringing than anything else. So leading into Sam becoming the Falcon. So because Falcon is one of my top Avengers.
Hmm.
In my opinion, I was actually a bigger fan of Black Panther than I was Falcon whenever I was growing up, but I always did like growing up I was a big fan of like which is crazy because I grew up scared of heights, but I was a big fan of more of like the flying aspect of specific characters. So like
Yeah.
Transformers, I was a huge Starscream fan. So whenever I saw Falcon and it's like badass Falcon suit and stuff like that, I was like, holy shit, this suit's badass. So I naturally started to gravitate towards him as that began to happen, and then I kind of stopped being like, yeah, Black Panther, to yeah, Falcon. So, but as far as his like actual origin, I mean, obviously, once again, comics, there's multiple different avenues you can go down, and we're specifically following like the main one that's considered canon, and
Hmm.
the one that I know just from hearing the way that the show was somewhat going from episode 2 is I'm pretty sure the route they're going to go. There's a big portion of this that I personally think is somewhat important, but I don't think they're going to really express that in the show, and then we'll kind of get into that. But getting back to the dad here, um he was walking down the street one day and saw that there was like two gangs actually fighting and going at it.
Oof.
He decided that he was going to get in the middle of it, sit down, try to talk them down and everything like that, and he successfully stopped the fight. But midway through his speech, one of the gang members decided that he had enough and pulled out a knife and stabbed, killing Paul Wilson right there in the middle of the street. And then the gangs just kind of like left and just left him there to die in a pool of his own blood. Unfortunately, the even worst part of this was is that Sam at 9 years old was super into his dad, like idolized the shit out of him and was
Mhm.
following him around everywhere he went on the rooftop. So he saw all this happen and watched his dad lay there in a pool of his own blood and die. Luckily, this lit a spark for Sam, and this actually made him volunteer more, spend more time at the churches, try to, correct any bad behaviors he could see in inner city youth and stuff like that, as far as whenever they were growing up, and, get a lot more people into the volunteer aspect. He really embodied what his dad had set out to do, which is great. Unfortunately for Sam, is that one day him and his sister and his mother were walking, and a man jumped out and snatched the mother's purse. While robbing her, looking into her purse, seeing that she had nothing but a few dollars, he went to a fit of rage and gunned down the mother, Darlene, as well.
And Sam
This,
watched that happen
unfortunately,
too?
with him and his Sarah were both there for that.
How old were they, roughly?
They were a little bit older. They were in their teens at this point.
Oh, that doesn't make it
Um,
better. Oh,
It
God.
doesn't make it better, and unfortunately, watching both of his parents die by gang violence, even though they've done so much for the community to try to stop gang violence, this was the final straw for Sam. So Sam actually developed I guess you would consider it kind of like a bipolar aspect, to where like whenever he would get to, or not necessarily bipolar, I guess it would be more of just like um an alternate what am I trying to think here? An alter
Personality?
ego, personality, whatever, for himself, that whenever he would get too stressed, too upset, too frustrated, he would just snap into this other person, which is kind of funny now that we've got, the whole Thanos thing going on. But he would just snap into this other personality, and that's literally what he called that personality, was Snap, which, well, I mean, it's the 1960s, so what are you going to do? But
I was gonna say, a lot of the names in this are regrettable and dumb, and I have judged that very harshly in the past, so
yeah.
see that
So
episode.
his personality was Snap, where he was a little bit more of like kind of a guy that would walk the streets and not necessarily robbing and stuff like that, but he wasn't necessarily a nice person either. This led him into some trouble, where he got rounded up and dropped on an island. So this is where things are going to kind of start getting out there. So bear with me here. Just remember, comics. Was dropped on an island with natives. Now, and they were all African natives. Now, this being said, there was nothing wrong with the island. The only problem is that there was a group of supervillains who basically were exiled from other supervillain groups because they didn't care for their ideas or whatever the hell have you. Multiple different people for multiple different reasons. No big names that anybody's going to know here. Were exiled to this island, and they were called the Exiles. So if you want to know who the supervillains were, feel free to go look them up. But like I said, you're not going to know them. I barely even knew half of them. But yeah, so the Exiles then began to, I guess, basically lord over the natives. And Sam kind of became the, well, it's funny. The reference they kind of used was kind of like the Peter Panish type character, where if you think about it, like you had the Lost Boys and like Captain Hook and his people, and they were messing with the Lost Boys, and Peter Pan was coming and fucking all that up. That's kind of how Sam was. He didn't really live with the natives. He was friends with the natives, but his whole like purpose in life at that point was to do whatever he could to fuck up whatever the exiles' plans were.
Mhm.
And this is where we kind of get more into how he became Falcon. So at this point, we really haven't gotten into anything that actually, even remotely showed that that's where this is going. This is where that's going to happen. So Captain America was in a fight with the Red Skull. The Red Skull used another magical cube called the Cosmic Cube, which
Why is it always a cube?
basically, yeah, it's always a cube. It basically used it to, like I said, I just can't wait. When we get back to the second part of the cube, is the part where, I kid you not, none of it is going to make sense, and none of it has been fleshed out. It's
Awesome.
just comic plot. So just, that's why I'm laughing, because I know when we get there, you're going to be like, I don't understand why, motive, anything. And trust me, no one else does either. So he uses the Cosmic Cube to change bodies with Captain America. So now Captain America is in the Red Skull's body, and Red Skull's in Captain America's body. And then they kick Red Skull off onto the Island of Exiles. He gets there. Red Skull seeing so many villains that, didn't like him due to betrayal, they started to beat him up. Captain America only got away because a red Falcon shot out and, kind of helped him escape. As Captain America was able to catch his breath, noticed that the actual Red Skull was just a mask and was like, if I pull this off, maybe they won't recognize me. So he pulls off the mask and ends up walking in a little bit into the jungle and sees a man who is getting the Falcon to return back to him. And it's like, hey, thanks for the help out there. And this was, by the way, our first visual of Red Wing. Thanks for the help out there. Where or who are you? And kind of what are you doing here? And he's like, well, what I'm here for is I'm here to obviously stop the exiles. There's a tribe of people who live here, and that's basically what I'm here doing. I saw you in trouble, so I thought I would help. I use the bird because I've actually always had a natural feeling with birds. He's like, back in Harlem, which is where Falcon grew up, by the way. Back in Harlem, I actually had some pigeon coops on the rooftops and would actually be able to, get along with birds quite often. So whenever I got here to the jungle, me and this Falcon became friends, and his name is Red Wing. So that's when we got introduced to Red Wing. That being said, Captain America, seeing how he kind of was able to just adapt to his surroundings and everything else, was like, hey, you are actually really, really good at doing this. If you're worried about being able to save these people, you need to make a presence to make these villains scared. And I think a mask and a costume and giving yourself a name would do that. And that's when Sam was like, well, what do you think would be a good name? And he's like, well, I think the Falcon would be great since you are friends with this Falcon. That's how we got the name the Falcon, was from good old Captain America. So then Sam Wilson goes back to the natives, and they actually are more than happy to make his suit and mask for him. And that's pretty much how the birth of the Falcon went. This is where things get weird.
Because up till now, they've been so normal.
Oh, yeah, true. Absolutely. So here's where things get a little bit weirder. They go back, they fight Red Skull in Captain America's body, who's basically just been living up the whole fame life because, he's Captain America. They get Captain back in his skull, or back in his body, and Red Skull back in his body. The Red Skull then uses the Cosmic Cube to rewrite Sam Wilson's past, where instead of the whole Snap personality, he grew up as basically, a good youth and donating and volunteering and just being an all-around great guy. And then he also uses the Cosmic Cube to rewrite Sam's DNA to actually give him a link mentally to be able to bond with birds, which is why him and Red Wing are so close, and he can actually be like that with any bird. And then he just disappears.
The what the fuck look I am giving the screen I have never given before. What the hell? Okay. Yeah. I don't think this is going to make more sense if you try to add more detail. I think maybe it might make sense.
That is the detail. That's the detail we have. That's what I'm saying. That's as flushed out as it's been. As Red Skull was just like, fuck it. And then just
so bad guy that just got his ass kicked by Captain America, who he doesn't like, and some kid that he just learned a bit about in this particular fight, decides I have a cube of cosmic bullshit, and of all the things I'm going to go back and rewrite in time, I'm going to go and make the kid that just helped Captain America kick my ass a better human being. That's what I'm going to do. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the nonsense? This makes... Wait, what? Like, I'm not gonna look up today's lottery numbers and go back and get myself a bunch of money. I'm gonna make this guy a better person. And how is that going to stop him from helping Captain America when this all happens again? What?
Yeah.
Are
Yep. I wish I had more for you, but that is the 100% chronological story that created the Falcon.
okay. Do we have more story? Is there more story to go in his battle with the Red
No,
Skull? We're done.
no, we're done. Yeah, we're done. After that, Falcon became a kind of more of a little bit of a side character to Captain America before he became an actual member of the Avengers to the Falcon that we know today. But yeah, and he started off in like his first outfit really had nothing to do with what he looks like now. His first outfit was just kind of like it kind of resembled like Iron Fist outfit a lot, where it was just, but once again, I mean, it was built on it was created on an island with like leaves and shit like that. So it was kind of like green and golden. He then ends up getting the red and white suit with actual falcon feathers on the arms so that way he can actually fly and do all that fun stuff. And then it wasn't until way later on, Civil War-ish era, where he kind of gets more of the suit we see in the movies and the TV show now, where it's a lot more stark built, if you will.
If he had showed up to these very established superhero gatherings where you've got very established superheroes like Iron Man in a bunch of leaves and or feathers, that would not have gone well for him.
It
And
would have been interesting fights on how quickly his outfit would have disappeared compared to everybody else's.
correct, yes. And
Yeah.
like they didn't respect like Captain Marvel when she showed up. And like she's the most powerful of all of them. And so like is if Falcon showed up not the most powerful of all of them, also in a, a less advanced outfit, that would have just been very embarrassing. I'm glad they didn't go that route. I know with a couple of these characters, I think Captain America in particular, they intentionally went through the different iterations of his outfit to kind of show them to you, and also kind of show like he started out with this kind of a hat and then he ended up with a better kind of hat, and they did that as an homage to how he was created.
Mhm.
But I'm glad they didn't do that with this character because I feel like it would have delegitimized him, and having a black man badass on the screen with a bunch of these other heavy hitters, delegitimizing him is not the route to go. So I'm glad they didn't choose that. I'm glad they instead were just like, let's give him the kick-ass suit from the beginning and we'll be fine. Like it'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been okay with his original outfit as far as the red and white with the falcon feathers. I mean, I
Mhm.
actually really enjoyed his original concept, but I don't have an issue with the new one. It's just one of those things where it's like I don't want I don't want that to end up being the normal moving forward with every superhero where it's like, let's just give them the start version. Let's just give them the start
Mhm.
version. Like with Spider-Man, like it made sense because of their,
He's bringing him
relationship.
in, and
But
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and then it's like obviously fucking War Machine is War Machine, so that's a
Yeah.
duh. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want that to be like the normal walking forward. We don't need to see the Doctor Strange movie where he's walking around with the fucking robotic cape and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Wait, that
uh,
happens? Doctor Strange gets
no,
her okay.
no,
I was like,
no. I'm
"Fuck."
just saying. I'm
I
just
feel like
saying
that
it
cape had a
doesn't need to
very
happen.
sentient role, and to take that away and make it a robot, but I guess we've got Vision, and he's as robotic as they
Yeah.
get, so I don't know whose shit I'm slinging over here. Okay, so, I'm not going to ask questions about the shit that doesn't make sense because I don't think you can help me.
I can't help you. No,
Okay.
the comics can't even help you at this point. So
Who the
that's just
hell
something
wrote
that they've just
that?
that 1960s. They just yeah. I think they literally wrote a character and they're like, wow, this character's really good, and people really like him, but we didn't make any of his powers make sense. And then they were just like, well, let's just be like magic, and then that's what happened. So
Um, okay, and we briefly glanced over this, and I'm worried I missed something. His alter ego Snap.
mhm.
So
It was very short lived, which is why we
was
kind of just
yeah. but he was walking around the streets more willing to get into a fight, more willing to be a little bit more like
Rowdy.
rowdy's a good word. Thank you. And he went out like I absolutely understand he's been deeply traumatized, and with the first trauma he responded by loving harder, and with the second trauma he was finally like, all right, if you guys are going to do this anyway, like I'm going to meet you where you're at and stop you a different way. So
Mhm.
I get that trauma response. That completely makes sense. What did he do that got him exiled to an island?
I think it was more along the lines that he was just around some people who got captured, including
Ah,
other supervillains, and wrong place, wrong time type situation.
and when exactly did the United States government start shipping away rowdy teenagers to islands?
Uh, it wasn't rowdy teenagers. It was supervillains. You know, the ones that they could actually contain versus the ones that the superheroes had to be called in for. So, that's what I'm saying. Like, you probably wouldn't even know anybody on the island. It would be like, people who are all like, I'm gonna knock over that gas station, you see? And then, it's like, I'm a supervillain. Yeah,
I like
those
how you've
kind.
got these 20s gangsters in a 1980s world.
Yeah.
So okay. Um, it feels like somebody just discovered that the English used Australia as a prison colony and then like wrote that into their story.
I mean, pretty much. Pretty much.
That's okay. I do with this story. So I think he has a compelling backstory of who his father was and how his father engaged with the community. And even though he was engaged with the community in this deeply authentic and kind, loving, rehabilitative way, that
Mhm.
it still ended badly for him. I think that is a very compelling story. And then mom getting gunned down as well years later. Like those two things are just like heart-wrenching by themselves. And every superhero has a heart-wrenching story at some point cuz who would they be without deep deep trauma? I do understand how those two things, like how ultimately, even if he'd never met Captain America, I feel like he would have been attracted to the symbol of Captain America as like this is somebody that the world needs. And I also see
Mhm.
with that background, if that's the background that they're using for him in the TV show, why he feels he can't engage as Captain America because we all like Captain America was a symbol the way his dad was a symbol. Like they went beyond. And especially when you're 9, like the mistakes that your parents make when you're really young, you you often don't remember as long as they're in the normal scope. Obviously when your parents do terrible things, that's not laughable and you don't laugh that off or just walk away from it kind of thing. But the normal like parent got maybe angrier than they should or told you to go to bed earlier than you should or something like that or raise their voice a little bit, like you kind of wipe that away, especially if they pass and you don't have an opportunity to make more memories with them. Then eventually you're going to remember the positive ones more often because those are the ones often told to you. Plus, that's what you hold on to. So I can understand how he has these two major symbols in his life. And I now understand why he would be so attracted to Captain America as a friend and as like an I'm willing to follow you because I've seen where this kind of behavior goes and it's a good place and I couldn't keep my dad safe, but I'm way more powerful now as an adult and I can keep you safe. Like
Mhm.
that like his behavior towards Captain America makes complete sense now, and also his willingness to give up the shield because he lives in his own head. He sees his own mistakes. He sees the way that he hurts people and he thinks to himself, my dad wouldn't have hurt people that way. Captain America wouldn't have hurt people that way. Not realizing that they did. He just wasn't one of the people that they hurt that way, you know?
Right. Mhm.
So I feel like I understand Falcon now. Also, of all the characters that we've talked about, he feels so much more human and like relatable than many of the other characters that we've talked about. It was about a year ago, or maybe even 2 at this point that we were talking about them, but he just feels very relatable.
That's fair. I could see that.
Okay, so I've got more questions, but do you want to tell me anything about the Winter Soldier before I go into any of my questions?
No, but I do wanna clear some things up.
Okay.
So some things that I might have just, like, glossed over and didn't give, like, let me nail this down here. Snap did officially end up working for a mob, which led him on an assignment to a specific place. That plane, this is the one that they're actually gonna go with. So that plane is the one that crashed in the Caribbean island named Exile. The Exile group that I was talking about was actually not the correct group, I guess, that they're actually going to be using. The Exile group that they're
Oh.
going to be using was hold on one second. Because I wanted to pull up just to double check and make sure. Because also remembered that there's actually an X-Men group called the Exiles as well,
Oh my god.
which is completely different. So the Exiles fled to Exile Island in the Caribbean after the fall of the Third Reich in 1945. The Red Skull and his henchmen that were there used this as a base of operations. So that's why they were pissed off whenever they saw Captain America there as the Red Skull, because they thought it was the actual Red Skull and he had betrayed them in order to be able to leave Exile Island.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. And an island full of Nazis is not a place either Captain America or a black man want to end up at any point in their lives, because that's
Or or a whole island full of
of natives who have lived
black
there for
tribe
generations.
natives.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just a little
Shit.
bit.
God, can
Just a
you
little bit.
imagine the horrible day of like a plane just dropped off and a whole bunch of Nazis? What do we do? Like, we're not warriors, but I think we need to kill all of them if we want to live. Like, uh-huh.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, so everything that you just clarified makes that whole a big part of that narrative make a lot more sense. I couldn't figure out why the police just picked up a teenager who was like, "We're sending you to an island." This, I get it now. He's a mobster. He's on assignment on a plane. Plane crash lands, and
Apparently, there was a part where they tried to say that later it was revealed that the Snap persona, had been entirely constructed by the Red Skull to manipulate Wilson, and the fact that he had never became a criminal at all. But the problem with this is that it doesn't explain how he ended up on. So yeah, I guess they've tried to create something around fixing that, and I guess they just said fuck it and just gave up. So
I love random times where I think the editors at Marvel look over their comics and they're just like, that makes no sense. Can we fix it? Like most creative people in the room, let's get some caffeine and let's try to figure out how to fix this. And sometimes the answer is no, no, you can't. Like, it
a
was
cool
weird and
thing that
bad.
I didn't know about Falcon is that his harness that allowed him to fly in his original outfit, because he didn't have that whenever he was on the native island, but his harness that allowed him to fly was actually given to him and created in Wakanda by Black Panther.
That's
Pretty cool.
awesome.
Didn't know
So,
that.
do you have any idea when he crossed paths with Black Panther and kind of how that relationship started? My guess is no, but
It would be after that story,
okay.
because then that's whenever he gets his outfit. So it would have to be whenever he first got brought back by Captain America to the Avengers,
Okay. Got
and
it.
they set him up in his outfit, because that's whenever he had the red falcon looking wings and could fly around and all that cool shit.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through a couple of my questions just to make sure that I understand some things correctly. He's definitely male, and
Hmm.
do we know anything about his sexual orientation?
We hold on one second. I actually got his profile pulled up here just in case I had any questions that you hit me with that I didn't know, because I don't know if he actually really had any kind of like big relationships that I know of. I know that he is single. He's male. Mm, mm, mm. Doesn't look like he's had any like big, huge relationships as
Okay,
far as like with any of the other heroes or something like that that are popping up for me. So yeah, I wouldn't know. Uh, yeah,
I think they did show him on. Am I correct in the TV show they showed him on Tinder flipping through women? Am I correct?
if they did, I completely fucking don't remember that scene.
Am I wrong?
uh,
God, if you know in the comments, please throw it in the comments because I'm wondering if we have any
he's
insight.
straight. Leela Taylor was a longtime romantic interest and confidant of the Falcon.
Okay.
She was one of the first people to know his true identity.
Okay. So, to the best of our knowledge, he's cis heterosexual male. Got it. Cool.
Hmm.
Definitely
Her
human.
name was Little Leela, was her alias, also known as Sister Sweet.
Okay, I'm sorry. What was her actual name?
Leela Taylor.
Leela Taylor was a
Hmm.
girlfriend and
Yep.
confidant.
Yeah, longtime romantic interest and confidant of the Falcon. She was one of the first people to know his true identity. Leela was quite concerned with equal rights for all Americans, regardless of color of their skin. Leela accompanied the Falcon to Wakanda when he and the Black Panther were designing his new wings. However, she grew bored and was taken shopping abroad by the Black Panther staff. The criminal Stoneface spotted the attractive Leela, killed the Panther security squad, and took her hostage. She was rescued by T'Challa and the Falcon in the first test of his new wings.
Shit. Let's new wings. Let's just raise the stakes. Okay, and you said her code names were or like nicknames were Little Leela and something like
Little Leela and Sister Sweet.
Sister Sweet.
Yep.
Okay. I don't love some of the nicknames people get in these comics.
Yeah.
Not a fan. If anybody ever calls me Sister Sweet, I'm gonna be like, and I'm out. This seems odd. But I'm also not plugged in with the community that would call me that, so that's fine. Definitely appears to be it's the Marvel universe. It's the normal Marvel universe. There's nothing eccentric about that. And he has no powers. Oh wait, except for the telepathic link with birds that was given to him through the cosmic cube. Hate that.
Yeah, let's see what his actual powers are considered here. If any at all, obviously.
That's so much. It's terrible. It's just dumb.
Relatives, aliases,
Go back and rewrite somebody's past, and I'm just gonna make them better.
Yeah, no, they do not list any powers for him. Just says human enhanced by the cosmic cube.
I'm gonna go with telepathic link with birds because I feel like that's what his enhancement by the cosmic cube was.
There you go.
Right?
Oh, powers and abilities. Avian telepathy.
All right. Well, now I
So
feel like an
avian
idiot for
telepathy.
not using avian telepathy. That was a much
There
better
you go.
phrase than telepathic link with birds. Damn.
Yep. Sam
Well,
was
I'm
given the
embarrassed.
ability to telepathically link with birds endowed by Red Skull using the cosmic cube. The link is strongest with his companion Red Wing, but he is also able to extend his link to other birds, making it possible for him to see through their eyes. He also has shown the ability to control birds. He is also a skilled handler and trainer of birds, even without his mental powers. These abilities apply to the entirety of birds, including some extent of telepathic reading to inhuman bird people.
Neat. So if we're invaded by inhuman bird people, Sam might be able to be like, nada, nada, nah. They're just here for a little bit of ice. Let them knock off a couple cubes, and then they're willing to go. Like, huh, neat. Okay.
He is also a master martial artist because he was trained by Captain America and all the martial art that he knows, as far as judo and karate. He is considered to be in peak human condition. Even before his training with Captain America, Sam was in extremely good shape. After years of intensive and extensive training with Steve, Sam is now above average athlete and have pushed his body to the pinnacle of human condition. So he has peak human strength and peak human endurance. He is a master acrobat. Sam has underwent more rigorous training in gymnastics and acrobatics with Captain America. Master aerialist and flight. So Sam is an extraordinary aerialist and flight due to his training with Captain America and to his own experimentation with his hard light harness. His experience in martial arts, aerialist, and flight has made him one of the best aerial fighters in the world, exceeding the skills of other flyers such as Iron Man and Miss Marvel. He is an
Ooh.
expert shield fighter. Sam is very proficient in the use of Captain America's shield. He has shown himself to be able to hit several targets from the air with pinpoint accuracy. And he also is a great leader. Sam has led shield super agents and or with proficient tactician and strategist. That's not how that
Strategist?
should have. I don't think
Strategist?
that's how that's. I don't think that's how that's spelled here. Once again,
Okay.
this is a wiki, so
Oh, I was
this
like,
is
that's how
yeah.
that word is
No,
said.
that's
So.
why that's why I said it wrong. I'm like, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be spelled here. But his strength level before the Falcon's training with Cap, he possessed the strength of a normal human who engages in regular exercise. However, over the years with intensive training with Captain America, he possesses peak human strength. Falcon is strong enough to lift at least twice his body weight and can press lift 480 pounds.
Damn.
So there you go. Obviously, his weapons are his wings, which I think are pretty fucking cool. And
Yeah,
we
they're
have seen
fucking
him use
cool.
those in multiple different ways in the movies and in the show.
And it seems like his motivation is kind of like a continuation of the work that his dad was doing, which is make the world a better, safer place. And
Mm-hmm.
he, like, that's. I'm trying to think if we've ever seen him betray that in any of the movies. And I think mostly we've seen him, like, gently give people shit for being
Mm-hmm.
awful, but I don't think we've seen him like gently confront them for being awful. But I don't think we've ever seen him like write anybody off or go for the kill the way we have with Rhodey. Like
Right. For
Rhodey is
sure.
much more militaristic, and Sam is much more forgiving and rehabilitative. Is the argument
Yeah,
I'd make.
he's still yeah, it's definitely a difference in upbringing on that one.
Yeah. Upbringing, probably some life experience as well. So, okay. Does Sam have a day job? What does he do when he's not
Let's see
heroing?
here. We did see that his occupation is adventurer, vigilante, former freelance artist, social worker. There we go. And
Hmm.
urban planner. His education, he was a high school dropout, later extensively self-educated.
Okay. I have full pauses on both social worker and urban planner just because both of those are things that you need degrees to do. Like,
So that probably must have came after he did the whole self-education aspect of it.
yeah, but self-education doesn't get you a degree.
Yeah, well, it's not about what you know, it's who you know, Kelsey. He knows Captain America.
I
Captain
guess he does
fucking
know Captain
America.
America
So Captain America would be like, hey, this fucking guy would be great for this.
for your
I don't
urban
know why I
planning project for
decided
your
to
small community.
I don't know why I decided to make Captain America sound like Tony the Tiger there, but
Yeah, he got real
great
tigger.
for this.
You know, I'm absolutely certain Captain America was asked to do that at some point, and he was just like, "Fuck it, sure, yeah, great."
Why not?
Again, okay, social worker, urban planner, which are the only two jobs I think you listed that actually make money, and the other ones were adventurer,
Yep, adventurer, vigilante,
vigilante,
and former freelance artist.
and that is, oh god, I know a couple of freelance artists, and man, that is a feast or famine, and even the feasts they're not big feasts. It's like I can order guac at Chipotle and not worry about it kind of feasts. Um, okay, freelance artist. Do we ever get to see any of
Which
his
is
art?
why Dead Funny tries to use local artists that we know when we
And
do our logos.
we pay them. To be
And we pay
clear,
them.
that's not just like, hey, we know you, will you do this drawing? We pay them for it.
We pay them.
Okay. So, do we get to see any of his freelance art? Do we have any idea what does he draw?
I'm pretty sure it's more
Paint?
of like stuff that you probably would see, like, like between the scenes of like what Falcon's doing type deal.
Mhm.
I personally haven't seen any of it myself, but yeah, I don't think it's like a huge I don't think people would have been interested in reading a comic book about an artist at that time. And I don't think that there's any way a studio that was doing comics, especially whenever comics are constantly failing left and right, hence the reason why Marvel went bankrupt a long time ago and
Uh-huh.
then came back from the brink, would have been like, yeah, let's do a artist issue.
Let's take a
So I
risk in
don't
the
think
middle
it
of all
would.
this action that we're doing to make an artist. Okay, yeah, no, I see your argument there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, major enemies. Who are his nemesis?
His nemesis. Let's see here. Obviously, it's going to be anybody that the Avengers have issues with. I do not see.
I'm
I
gonna
see
guess Red Skull is
affiliation.
on this list. There's no way he's not.
It's got to be people once again that he's fought with the Avengers and has fought with Captain America. But somebody that I do think is well worth bringing up here would be, where is his name? I don't know this character that well. Give me a hot second here. It was Stone something. Was it Stone Face? Damn you.
Bad name.
Where was the page about his girlfriend? Because he was like all over that. Hold on. I
Lila
hate this stuff
Taylor.
because it's always like Earth 616 and Earth this and Earth that. And it's like, so much to try to keep together. Stoneface, yes. Stoneface, I would say, because Stoneface was apparently the mob boss that he ended up working for and was also the person that kidnapped his girlfriend in Wakanda. So I would go ahead and guess that somebody who led you into a life of crime and also tried to kidnap your girlfriend and possibly kill her would register as a nemesis.
Yes. As someone who's never had a girlfriend, if I had one, I imagine I would be pretty pissed off if somebody kidnapped her. And I had superpowers, yeah, I'd take that a little personally. Okay, so Stoneface. I hate that. I hate that name. I'm deeply against that name. So we've got Avengers
He also
enemies.
has a brother,
Oh,
Gideon Wilson, which apparently looks like he's in the army.
why have we not heard about him when we discuss siblings?
Yeah, he was not in the. I think this is, although appearing to look much older than his brother, the Falcon. Sam claims he raised his brothers and sisters. Gideon Wilson became a minister like his father, but when his son Jim died of AIDS, he blamed the Hulk and vowed to. I don't. Okay, I don't understand any of that.
If you
He
know.
underwent exposure to gamma radiation to gain Doc Samson like powers, but with opposite effects. He attempted to beat the Hulk, but during the fight, he realized that this wasn't what he wanted, acknowledging the Hulk's point that Jim had died of AIDS and admitting, I'm guessing maybe they were doing some kind of like gamma therapy on him and
Oh,
admitting
it's
that he
possible
was
he
the only
blamed Hulk for the death,
attacking.
not AIDS for the death.
Yeah.
Not blaming Hulk for
Yeah.
the AIDS, which is what I thought
Yeah.
you said, which I was like,
That's how it read. That's why I was like, what?
nope.
Yeah, it's literally how it read. AIDS admitting that he was only attacking the Hulk because he was ashamed at his own failures as a father. All new, all different. Years later, Gideon Wilson was visited by his brother. Now apparently powerless, he became a pastor in New York where he ran AA meetings from a parish common room. He expressed his pride at his brother becoming Captain America. So.
Okay, got it.
Just in case those of you who didn't know, yes, Falcon does become Captain America in the comics. So does Winter Soldier. And obviously, as we talked about in the review shows, which by the way, we're definitely not going to be getting to a lot of that other stuff that we talked about possibly getting to, but we did cover the majority of that, if not having also JoJo's opinion on this, who is also another comic book reader as well, in the review shows for Falcon 1 and 2. I would watch if you're trying to get more of this information as you're going along with the show. Those review shows are out on the channel at this point, so you can definitely go check those out and get information on Zemo, information on Flag Smashers, and information on agent or U.S. agent, aka John Walker, who is currently Captain America in the show.
And just so you guys know, because I'm on these review shows and I don't have their comic book knowledge, but I'm asking a lot of questions for what we see in the show. I'm not in the first episode, so they do a lot of comic book speak and reference a lot of comic book things. And if you don't know what they're talking about, it's actually very confusing. If you watch that episode, comment your questions for the love of God. Yeah, you don't need to interrupt me, Karis. I know what the fuck I'm saying. Comment your questions because they will happily explain it to you. As like we have an entire show built around Chris explaining shit to me that I don't know. And we do have other people on here, but Chris is pretty much the tenured professor at this point. And so they're more than happy to explain,
bitch.
and they're more than happy to like link to their sources and explain to you like I'm not coming up with this on the fly and just bullshitting you. Like here's the real information, here's where you can find it and stuff like that. So please ask questions, and I will be on all of the rest of the episodes in order to be a little bit of an ambassador for those of you who don't know anything. So you have an opportunity to be like, okay, who's US agent? What are we even talking about? Who is, you know what? Go watch the second episode and you'll find out who that is, because they used that phrase a lot in the first one, and we found out what that was in the second one. So, long story
And I
short,
will
go
also
watch.
try I will also try to get better at specifically listing because a lot of these conversations, especially sometimes in the DFU, not as much in the DFU, usually in the review shows, but in this DFU, I definitely did where we'll bring up databases and talk about certain things. The reason why me and JoJo do that is because of the aspect there's so many different stories. So if I grew up reading the Avengers, which I did, and you have like the Avengers and you know Earth, Prime Earth, Earth 616, da 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 da. There's so many different stories, so we want to make sure we're specifically talking about the story that is pertaining to what we're doing a review on. Which is the
Hmm.
same reason why I brought this up because this is for those of you who want the exact information we're going over. This is Earth 616. Falcon Sam Wilson that we're talking about here. So that's going to be that actual story where you're going to be able to get a lot more of this information, maybe even get a little bit more details to stuff that happened after where me and Kelsey stopped our story of how he became Falcon and be able to read what he went to go do afterwards. Just
Okay.
wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's incredibly valuable because you and I have talked about the fact that all of Marvel universe has been created and recreated and recreated and condensed and then recreated so many times that I'm aware of it, but if anybody's jumping in for the first time with this information, like
Yeah.
we they need to know that absolutely.
Marvel and DC alike, they've both done it. I think DC was worse because they had like 56 different universes, which finally
God.
crashed into one like years later. Like that was a recent event. So but yeah, Marvel is kind of just still kind of out there with like, this is completely different Captain America, or this is completely different da da da. So yeah,
So to get back to my questions, we've kind of covered the enemies, I think. There weren't any other significant ones that you were able to call out, correct?
not that are just straight Falcon-ish type. I
Mhm.
would see probably after this show, if he starts getting a lot more solo strains, I would see them making up some villains for him. But because at the time he was more of a team member versus like his own character, besides Stoneface, who I have no idea who the fuck that is, which means that I'm probably very correct in assuming that that's basically his nemesis. Yeah, I don't think he has. No, I mean, no, literally, there was not a single name on his profile page for nemesis whatsoever, which
Okay.
that's usually up there. That just wasn't even a category. So,
Okay. So his squad on here, his group of people that you can often find around him are Captain America. You mentioned T'Challa as they work together to make the suits. My guess is they may have a few
mhm.
adventures together. Is Winter Soldier actually one of his squad for more or less? And I realize he's a sidekick, so it's kind of a hard question to begin with.
He would be considered that due to the fact that it is more of a team affiliation. I wouldn't necessarily say like he's ever had like an actual like squad of his own besides whenever he
Hmm.
led the Shield thing, and still that was like underneath Nick Fury's direction.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, besides Red Wing, I mean, everybody else that he deals with is going to be, I mean, he's part of so many different teams. I mean, I'm looking at his affiliation list here, and it's like a fucking mile long. But yeah, I mean, he's
He
been part
shows
of
up on teams whenever it's useful for him to be there.
basically, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, certain ones that you guys will know, like Avengers, Shield, Heroes for Hire, that one should ring a bell. Secret Avengers, stuff like that. Like he's been on probably about 20 different teams. But yeah, there's not been like something where like, for instance, Bucky, I or not Bucky,
Winter Soldier?
because we referenced him so much. No, because we referenced him so much. War Machine was like leading the West Coast Avengers at one time. That's
Hmm.
never been something that like Falcon has done.
Okay.
He's always just
Got
been
it.
a part of like the main Avengers.
Got it. Okay. Now, under weaknesses, like what I want to put on here is he's a human being and it's a human being weaknesses. He's not enhanced to have superpowers like Steve Rogers. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, his weakness would be pretty much everything that a normal human is weak to, bullets, all that fun stuff.
Getting punched in
Yeah,
the
he doesn't
face
have
real
like an
hard.
actual he doesn't have like an actual weakness due to the fact of
His creator was Stan Lee. We know that already. And then
Stan
his
Lee and Gene Colan.
and Gene Colan. And is that spelled Gene? Okay.
Genecolan. His first appearance was Captain America number 117 in September 1969, and his first appearance as Falcon was Captain America Volume 7, issue number 25. And that was actually, wow, a long time later. I didn't know it was that long. October 2014.
Wait, so the Falcon's actually
Like his first like red white suit appearance as Falcon is actually a lot newer. So he was still like Sam Wilson. He was basically Sam Wilson before he was Falcon. Like before he officially donned the actual outfit and became like the
wow.
Falcon.
Mhm.
It was a while.
Okay, that's a bunch of years there. That's over 60 years.
Yeah.
No, that's 50 years ish.
Oh wow, that's actually interesting. So he actually did some time as a token Avenger, and I say that with that's actually something that they wrote in later as one of the few black superheroes active. He was drafted to join the Avengers by Henry Peter Gierich, which is I I don't know who this guy is. I'm not gonna lie. Every alien presents makes us more vulnerable. I'm guessing he was some kind of like yeah, some kind of like army guy that was like filling stuff in, maybe, possibly. Yeah, National Security Council, Project Wide Awake, Wraith War, da 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 da. Either way, so yeah, he basically was doing a whole quota of where the hell did I just go? He was doing a whole quota of black superheroes in the Avengers. And so yeah, so he was drafted in the Avengers to fill a quota and he resented being a token. So therefore, he then quit at the first opportunity he had. Then at one point, the Sentinels chased him, believing he was a mutant, which led him into some X-Men Avengers. And then that's whenever Captain America found out about the whole quota thing and made things right. So
Whew.
yeah.
Yeah, that's problematic as hell. There's a lot of problematic that I see in that and don't like. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I don't know. That's an interesting way to do that. Like they specifically wrote a character in that had that mentality. It wasn't
Mhm.
like the comic book people did it to hit a quota. They wrote a character in to
Yeah.
do it to fill a quota and made that like part of the like plot of the story. Like that's very interesting in my opinion.
That is very interesting because it also shows the backside of what is the word? Um Either way, it shows the reverse side of this because when you're told, "Hey, you're here to fill a quota,"
Hmm.
so that way we have all the racial like we have as much racial diversity as we're supposed to have, and we have as no and like pick other diversities, so gender diversity, things like that.
Right.
It delegitimizes all of the value that person brings because you've just told them you're here for no reason other than your skin color.
Right.
And that is a horrible feeling, and I'm glad that they worked through that to explain. My guess is, did they I wonder if they made this guy a villain when he was doing this, or if he had it's affirmative action is the word I was looking for. I
Yeah.
wonder if
Affirmative action.
affirmative action, like him having that point was him attempting to be valuable and like give a platform because there is value in the mentality behind affirmative action. It's just when you're the one being told, "Hey, like you're here because of your skin color, not because of your credentials." It's horrible. It's a real bad feeling. To be clear, I'm not speaking for any racial minority. I am speaking on my own behalf. I have been at work in a meeting told, "Oh yeah, you're just here because we have no other women on the team and we have to have one." And it was a meeting that I should have been in because of my credentials and my abilities, and they didn't invite me for that reason. They invited me because I'm a girl, and that was not a good enough reason.
Right.
And they also
Yeah.
specifically told me, "If you, have any thoughts as a woman, please speak up." I was like, "My thought as a woman is to smack you upside the head right now, but I'm not gonna do that." So I'm glad that they put a character. I hate that they had to put a character through that, but I'm glad they put a character through that to show that being dehumanized when you are valuable, when you do have skills, is a very frustrating experience and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this character though. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
If
have to
you
look more into him.
If you know anything about the character, please put it in the comments because I care about what you think and I care about what you have to say, and I also care
Henry
about that
Gurich.
character, whether or not he was
Yeah.
portrayed as a villain or he was portrayed as a good guy with like good motivations and it just like turned out badly or like how that went. I would love to know. So please put that information in there if you know.
He seems like kind of a throwaway character in my opinion. Like he really does. Like I mean, he was part of a lot of different projects, even Thunderbolts and the Black Panther, but like he's not a superhero. That much I know. He's definitely not a superhero.
Mhm.
Tried Gingrich as a spy with the Avengers. He allied himself with Falcon, which I'm sure that was a bittersweet taste for
Whew.
fucking
Yeah, that probably wasn't a
our buddy
great
Sam Wilson there.
interaction. Do we know Sam Wilson's alive in the current Marvel
Yes,
narrative, correct? Okay.
correct. And
And
depending on where you're at in the story, he might be Captain America. But yeah,
fair.
at the current actual thing, like Steve Rogers is alive and well, and Captain America and Falcon is doing completely fine as Falcon.
Does he have any does Snap ever come back or once he has Falcon and he kind
No.
of like he has a place where he can feel powerful and like he can protect people, he doesn't need that alter ego anymore, so that just drifts away.
Well, once again, remember the Snap was apparently just created by
Yeah.
the Red Skull. So
I there's
yeah, he
I have
never came
so
back.
many problems with that.
I
Okay,
do
got
too.
it. So that's gone. Then you know what? I'm gonna go with a different narrative on that one because I think that's crap. But I realize that's me just like rejecting canon because I think canon's stupid and that's not fair. But at the same time, canon's stupid. Okay,
Yeah.
then I think that's all of my questions. Do you have an ending quiz for me? My guess is probably not.
We're gonna go with the probably not aspect that you were just talking about because
Okay, got
that
it.
is about. I do want. Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
I do want to look into one thing here, just because it was brought up. Because we did talk about the fact that we were going to do a little bit of Winter Soldier. We don't
Yes.
have too much time here. Something I do want to dive in because it was brought up as more of a joke in the show, but White Wolf was an actual thing.
I guessed it was. Now, was it
He
is it
had a Black Panther
Mhm.
suit, but it was completely white with a cape, and he actually did work alongside Black Panther as the White Wolf, and basically was treated like T'Challa's adopted brother.
Wow.
So that whenever he literally said, you know, "You came out of Wakanda as the White Panther," and he's like, "No, more like the White Wolf." It was definitely a callback to that.
Well, they also mentioned that in oh god, it wasn't the Black Panther movie. Was it the Infinity War? I think it might have been the first one when they went and got him. They said like the White Wolf needs to like come out or something
Mhm.
like that. Like they referenced him as the White Wolf back then as well. And so I'm really disappointed that we don't have the opportunity for obvious reasons. The Chadwick Boseman died if you weren't aware to see Chadwick Boseman and Sebastian Stan do a Black Panther and White Wolf movie because I would have watched the hell out of that. I would have loved to see the two of them kicking ass because their personalities are so interesting and one of them is so charming and so wonderful and the other one is so traumatized that to see them like kick ass together because my guess is the time with T'Challa would have been a very healing time um for Bucky. I would have
Yeah.
loved a visual on that.
They do say that more than once the Hunter's relationship with T'Challa has been compared to another pair of brothers famous that repeat their battles as well. So they didn't always agree, and sometimes they would actually fight each other
Well, yeah.
due to Bucky's, you know,
Mhm.
problems that he has going on. Often referred to as the Wakanda's Thor and Loki.
Oh, that's more contention than I would have pictured, to be honest.
Yeah, and then I scroll down and see T'Challa up against a rock with White Wolf holding him and stabbing a fucking sword through his chest. So,
Oh shit! That's
yeah,
big time bad. That's that's a bigger disagreement than I've had with anybody in my life.
where White Wolf is saying, "You stubborn fool, don't make me kill you just to spite me. I am of Wakanda. Be my king." And then Black Panther says, "I shall never be king of your Wakanda." So they
I would
had, I guess, some differences.
love to know what's going on there. I
Yeah.
might need to read the White Wolf comics just to kind of get that one. I realize it's all Black Panther comics and he's just part of it, but I would love to know the story behind that.
Yeah.
This might be what gets me into comics is my desire to see that and the inability for it to ever happen in this life any other way. God, that'd be so cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I might check that
So
out on my own time.
just wanted to bring that up. That the White Wolf thing was an actual reference. If you want to know more about the White Wolf, definitely go check it out. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was cool. These are the things that are cool to me and JoJo, because to the normal audience, it was just like the White Wolf. Oh, that's I guess the code name they gave him, but it actually meant something to us. Like
Mhm.
we're like, oh shit. So it's just kind of cool to be able to share that. So yeah,
Do you have any other Winter Soldier or White Wolf information that you wanna share?
no,
Okay,
no.
because it's pretty
A
well
lot
covered
of
in the
that was
movies.
already covered in the movies. Yes, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
We had basically 2 movies that covered that, Winter Soldier and Civil War. So, I mean, it's really go watch those movies, I guess. I don't know where else to go with that. If you're here and you haven't seen those movies, that's very interesting. And please comment below because I would like to know your thought process on why you're not watching those movies, but you're here for a DFU to learn about those characters.
We're just curious, we're not judging, we're just
Very
curious.
curious. There might be some judgment, but we are more curious than anything else.
Well, that's gonna do it for our class on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I feel weird saying "and the Winter Soldier." I'm just gonna label this Falcon because it's really not the Winter Soldier. We had 3
We
sentences.
can put the Winter Soldier with an asterisk.
Yeah, maybe. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. That's hugely helpful to us. Turn on the notifications so you know when to come to class. We also have Twitter, Twitch links below, as well as a merch link, which is hugely helpful to us. No, and if you just want to watch and not do any of those things, we're not going to judge, but it would be helpful to us if you enjoyed this to do any of the things that I just mentioned.
And
And
comments. That is
God,
apparently the new YouTube algorithm. If you want your channel to be a little bit more successful, which obviously we would like to do, so that way we can continue to keep making great content for you guys. Comment, comment, comment. Interaction one is, as I've said multiple times on my stream, and we've had the Stream Team podcast, we've talked about it there too. The most important thing to streamers is communication. It's the same thing with YouTube. Yes, it might not be instant, but I mean, I've literally in our whole like YouTube channel communication group that we have, I have like a whole section where I just post every single comment the moment it's up there, so everybody can see it. We can all go react to it if we want to, and
mhm.
reply back. So not a comment goes missed. Comment, comment, comment.
It's it makes our day. If we've made any part of your day, that makes our day in such a
Yeah.
huge way. Like it's the one way you can really reach back out to us and it means so much to us if you would. And we will see you either way in the next class of Dead Funny University and we hope you have a great week. Bye friends.